I think next season could be the season for the Orlando Magic. And maybe it's time to buy some stock in this ball club. CBS Sports gave Orlando a B+ for their recent moves. That was the third highest grade in the Eastern Conference. Dante Marchitelli, who we had on last night, felt that it was a home run by the Orlando Magic, what they did this offseason with a few of their moves and acquisitions as well. And when I hear and see those grades, it reminds me of something that I said last offseason when we had the basketball show on Sundays. There were those who are Magic fans that said, hey, if Paul George is saying that he wants to come down here to City Beautiful, you move heaven and earth to bring him. Pair him with Paolo Banchero. He can teach Paolo Banchero. That's going to be another guy that we're going to be able to have that will close out games. Now, I don't know how serious Paul George was or how close he would have been to becoming a member of the Orlando Magic. I feel like he was probably using the Magic as a buffer, see what other teams elsewhere were probably going to offer him. And eventually he decides that he wants to go to Philadelphia. Orlando doesn't fold. Said have fun being with the Sixers. So you get KCP, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, for significantly less than what it would have taken to get Paul George to the table. So in a way, you made the right, but you also made the wrong decision. Because KCP didn't work as well as you would have hoped. And at the time, KCP was the only move that you had made last season of any real significance. And I applaud Jeff Weltman. He was willing to admit he got it wrong. And he used this offseason in an attempt to make everything right. So honestly, with the Desmond Bane move, the more and more I think about it, the more and more I think the Orlando Magic got it right. Because for those of us who said, Anthony Simons, Trae Young, guys of that ilk, you probably would have had to give up on a few of your highly productive defensive guys. And I don't feel that they wanted to give up on said highly graded defensive guys. One being the Minister of Defense and Jonathan Isaac. So for Bane, if really all it took was giving up Cole Anthony, who you love, great locker room guy, was a great team guy, the most fun guy that the Magic have had as a player in quite some time. And you also give up Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, the guy that you're probably admitting wasn't the right move to make last season. And you give up 4 first-round picks, but I don't have to give up any part of my identity and which has made us such a great team in defense, then sign me up for that. Because those picks, at least the hope is, those picks will be late first-round picks that for you wouldn't have that much value. On top of the fact that Desmond Bane is going to give you another two-way guy who's a sniper from distance. He shot 40% from deep last year. And that's something that you need because your three-point shooting last year, Jonathan Von Tobel spoke about it last segment, woof. You couldn't even shoot league average last season in the NBA if you were the Orlando Magic, which I also feel that for Paolo Banchero, wasn't able to pass the ball out to the perimeter shooters. That included guys like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Gary Harris, who's no longer with the team, Caleb Houston, who's now going to the Atlanta Hawks. He shot better following the All-Star break. But if you had to choose, I feel the answer may be quite simple. You're going to take Desmond Bane over Caleb Houston because what he can do on both sides of the ball. But not only did you acquire a shooter in Bane, you also got Tyus Jones from Phoenix. This is a guy who I feel you've needed for quite a long time. You needed a point guard that is not this, okay, Suggs is hurt. Cole Anthony, maybe he's up and down. Corey Joseph. That's who we're bringing on. Corey Joseph. And I love Joseph, but I did think that the Magic could do better. And I feel that Tyus Jones is the better. In the 2023-24 season, this is when Tyus Jones was with the Washington Wizards. He averaged 7.3 assists per game to just 1 turnover. We bring up Phoenix. Jonathan Von Tobel brought up the year in Phoenix in which Tyus Jones spent. He was on a team that was dominated by 3 offensive players: Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant. So maybe not getting the ball in his hands enough, and his assist numbers did go down this past season. However, shot 40% from downtown. Also, adding to that, you bring back Mo Wagner, which I feel was a very important signing. As much as I love Goga Bitadze, I think it was no question that you bring back a Mo Wagner, not just because of the fact that his brother also plays on the team, but we've seen the production he's had on the floor. And he shot 36% from distance last year. So that now gives you a stretch 4. So this should tell you, for a team that didn't shoot league average from distance last year, you have now brought in 3 guys, 4 if you want to add Jace Richardson, who you drafted, who shot 40% from 3 last year in college. You've now hopefully addressed and will see results from the Magic shooting woes from distance this past season. And with the Bane and Jones signing, you can also talk about Jace Richardson. I'm going to be interested to see how they utilize him year one. I do believe he does need to develop as a point guard, so maybe he goes back and forth between the Osceola Magic and the main squad in Orlando. We'll see what happens there. Maybe he does get significant minutes in Orlando year one. But with Bane and Jones, you've now added 2 3-point shooters and 2 more playmakers that you have on your roster that can go along with your big 3, Banchero, Suggs, and Franz. Speaking of that big 3, probably the biggest move you made was giving the extension to Paolo Banchero. This is a guy who I think is going to take the next step in terms of being in that national spotlight. You look at the numbers he has, what he does, the names he's being associated with, when he does these historical landmark stat lines. And for me, what kind of irks me is if this were a Luka Doncic, if this were Wemby, if this was Cooper Flagg, Hall of Fame, All-Star. And understand this, with a torn oblique, we saw what he did. In half a year, when maybe SGA was starting to run away with the MVP, if he would have played a full season, how could he have not been in talks to win MVP? And he came out of the gate, I mean, hard body karate, wild for the night, guns blazing. That opening week game that I saw playing against the Miami Heat, I mean, the man was an absolute torch. Don't touch me now, you might burn yourself, Paolo Banchero. Same thing with Franz Wagner, who did an exceptional job when Paolo Banchero was out with a torn oblique injury. Killed my Lakers in Los Angeles. Step back jumper, good. Talking trash to the Southern California crowd. Tears his oblique. Jalen Suggs, the heartbeat of this team. He went down. So I could understand Jeff Weltman at the time trying to tell fans to be patient, but there may have also been writing on the wall for him. If you don't figure this out, we may have to go in a different direction. So like Dante Marchitelli said, I mean, you know, you're not trying to hype yourself up going into this season, but in a wide open Eastern Conference, how many teams are out there in which you are saying can really make it out of the East? Realistically, I'm looking at maybe 2. Cleveland and New York. It'll be interesting to see how Milwaukee looks going into this season. You add Miles Turner. You're now bringing in Cole Anthony. Maybe he's your starting point guard. Don't know. Detroit, I like. I just don't know if Detroit's ready to make the next step. Maybe there's still some learning in which they have to do, although Cade Cunningham is a bad boy. The Atlanta Hawks, we'll have to see it. I don't know if they scare me, but that is a force that's going to be reckoned with in the East, especially with how wide open it is. But the Orlando Magic, in my opinion, this is a team that reminds me the most of the Oklahoma City Thunder. This Orlando Magic ball club, like the Thunder, have drafted and developed well. I understand for the Thunder, outside of the fact that they acquired SGA in a trade for Paul George to send him to the Clippers, you've drafted and developed guys rather well. You make a move for a guy that you'd probably only make if you were going all in. We saw it with OKC. Bring in Isaiah Hartenstein. That's a move you make that you're saying we're going all in with this. Orlando Magic now. Desmond Bane. This is a move that we're making to go all in. And a team that hangs their hat on defense. One of the best defensive teams in the entire NBA, won the NBA championship, hanging their hat on defense. The Magic, even with all the injuries, a tough out on the defensive end. So for me, I wouldn't leave it out of the realm of possibility, in my opinion, that if this Magic team stays healthy, the pieces in which you brought in to help out with your big three, they're able to knock down shots from downtown. Who's to say that they can't make a deep playoff run? And you know what? Even make the NBA Finals. That's how open this Eastern Conference is.